Alright guys, welcome back. Tech Core Duo here, and for today's video we've got a quick tutorial on how to boost your performance on a slightly older Mac. So, you might be noticing that your Mac is getting kind of slow, and really there's no rhyme or reason to it aside from, the traditional answer that, it's getting old and it's time to replace it. But you might not be ready for that, so I'm going to run you guys through some tips and quick how-tos on how to boost the performance. So let's get to it. First order of kind of operation is going to be to disable kind of eye candy animations. These are animations such as the zoom feature on the dock, the scale effect that we have here, previews and icons. But instead of talking about them, let's just go straight through them and we'll disable them together, and we'll discuss things that we can make better. So let's start off by going into System Preferences. Alright, and then from System Preferences we're going to go into the dock. Alright, and then from the dock we're going to disable magnification. Magnification is this feature here. Alright, disable. And now there doesn't have to be a render effect every time you bring your mouse down to the dock. The other thing that we're going to disable is automatically show and hide the dock. Okay, this way the processor doesn't have to work double time every time you bring your mouse down to have to animate and show you the dock. So this way it's always present and it just stays there. Alright, the other thing is animate opening applications. We're going to disable that. We don't need any extra kind of animations bugging up the processor. Excellent. Alright, and the next thing that we're going to do is disable transparency. So what transparency does is in certain windows and certain areas of the dock and of the Finder, you'll notice that there is transparency visible. So I'm just going to pull up something just to show you guys an example of what it looks like exactly, so you can see, where this really comes into effect. Okay, so for instance here we have the notification center by swiping two fingers over from the edge of the trackpad on the right side, you'll see the notification center come out. So as I'm moving my mouse, as I'm moving it back and forth, you can see that slightly behind the notification center you have, you can see my wallpaper, and you can see kind of my icons being blurred out. So this is transparency, and the processor has to work pretty hard to make those things happen, and on an older Mac that may be something that you don't want to have. So we'll just get rid of that, and I'll show you how to do that now. Let's minimize this because this is kind of in the way. We'll close this dock here. We'll do System Preferences again, and we're going to Accessibility. Okay, from Accessibility we're going to go into Display, and we're going to say Reduce Transparency, and that'll happen instantly. You can also tell that the dock immediately stops being transparent also. Okay, now when we slide this over, also notice transparency has also disappeared. So we'll bring that back. Alright, another thing that I like to disable is shake mouse pointer to locate. This may seem like a small little thing, but when you shake your mouse, you see how it gets bigger there? That's to kind of locate it on the screen if you need to, but that also takes up processing power to make that kind of happen. And we want to squeeze every little bit out of, kind of performance that we can. So we're going to disable that guy as well. Alright guys, and the next thing that we want to take a look at is Finder, and just some Finder preferences that we can adjust to make them the Finder slightly more efficient at what it does. Alright, so from here what we'll do is open up, click on Finder, make sure you're in the Finder preferences. Okay, and then from here let's go into the General tab. Okay, in the General tab the section here where it says new Finder windows show all my files. This is not a good thing, because especially if your Mac's older, I'm pretty sure you have a ton of files, and having that many files kind of have to load up and refresh every time you open up a new Finder window is very demanding on the processor and the memory. So instead of that, what we'll do is we will put our home folder. So the little house is pretty much your home folder that will bring you to, let's give an example, file a new Finder window. It'll bring you to your home folder that has a few folders, but not all your thousands and thousands of files populating every time. And from here, it's also good because you get quick access to documents, downloads, your movies, music folder, and things of that nature. I also have some other files in here that managed to sneak in here. Your home folder might be empty. It might not have these files, but in any case, this is the best window to open up when going into a new Finder window. We're going to do one more thing, going back into the Finder window. We're going to go into our home folder, view, show view options. We're going to disable show icon preview, use as defaults. Taking a look at our desktop, you'll notice that all these icons here have previews. Okay, the next thing that we'll want to do is actually disable previews on the desktop and all other windows within the Finder moving forward. So what we'll do here is go into File, New Finder Window. Okay, and from the Finder window, you should have a favorites bar, and within the favorites bar, let's just go into Documents, for instance. Okay, and then from Documents, we'll go into View and Show View Options. The shortcut is also Command J if you prefer to use a shortcut method. Excellent. And now from here, if you look towards the bottom, you'll see where it says Show Icon Preview. Let's disable that. Okay, and also disable Calculate All Sizes. So in other words, this also makes the processor have to think about, each folder in each file to give you information on how much is within that, how much space or storage that file is taking up. So it's a good idea to disable that and not have to make the computer worry about that. Right, and then we'll also make this default for all windows. Excellent. Okay, I'm also going to go from the desktop, show view options, and we're also going to disable that to not show the icon preview. Okay, so we'll disable the preview and it'll load its default kind of icon values and not have to generate actual icon previews. Moving on to system preferences once again. And from system preferences, we're going to go into extensions. Okay, then within extensions, we're going to go into the today section. All right, the today section is going to have all these notifications highlighted. There may be some that you want to see. There are some that you might not want to see. So in other words, these widgets load within the notification center. Every time the computer turns on, it has to load that information. So it actually slows the computer down while you're using it, and it slows it down during the startup process. So I'm going to go ahead and disable everything except for the bare essentials. I like to see my calendar. I don't need the stocks. I like to see the weather. Don't need reminders because I get those on my phone. I'm going to disable iTunes. Don't need it on Parallels or any of these other apps. Alright, one other animation effect that we want to focus on is once again under Dock. And instead of using the minimize window using the genie effect, we're actually going to minimize the window using the scale effect. It's less demanding on hardware compared to the genie effect. Okay, and from here we're going to go into users and groups. I know I sound like a broken record saying, and from here we're going to go on to, but next, users and groups. Okay, and within the users and groups window, we're going to go into login items for the current user that you're in, which is your admin account. And we're going to remove any items that are listed here that you don't want starting up with the computer. This will greatly improve your startup time. And sometimes you might find there are apps that are just launching out of nowhere where you don't even want them to be starting up. Well, this is where you get rid of those guys from starting up. I don't want the iTunes helper, and I also don't want Air Server. And the way you get rid of these is by clicking on the minus button. Don't do the check marks, because the check marks just mean that they're going to be hidden. However, they're still opening up in the background. So the best thing to do is hit the click on the line item and hit the minus key. All right, the next thing that we're going to take a look at is kind of clear and simple. These are two items here, and they're right in front of us. Number one, there are so many icons on my desktop right now, and all those icons have to be loaded when the computer is starting up. So what we're going to do is consolidate them. I'm going to highlight them all and place them into a folder that I've created. It's just named file system. You can name it whatever you like. Now don't get me wrong, you can have a few icons on your desktop, but let's be aware of how many we have. I like to keep it to a maximum of 2 rows. Okay, and now also staying on the desktop, we can take a look at our dock here. If you look towards the bottom, every little icon that has a white light next to it, underneath it, that means that that app is currently running in the background. Okay, and also all of these windows that I have here, these all have to be stored in memory. So what I'm going to do now is right click on it and quit. Secondary click and quit. We're going to get rid of all the applications that we're not currently working in. That greatly improves the performance of the computer in the app that you're currently working in. All right, we're just going to get out of here. Quit all this stuff out. I did not realize how much I actually had opened. Alright, we're going to quit out of this. Notes, don't need that right now. And we actually have Firefox open. So I'd actually like to talk about Firefox in the meantime. One thing that may not seem like a big deal, but it actually is, tabs. You may find yourself with 20, 30 tabs open at once. That is a big drain on resources, especially memory. Try to minimize yourself to 3, 4, maybe 5 tabs at a time, and if at all possible, bring it down to 1. The less tabs you have open, the less memory the computer is using, and the more you'll have available for other applications if you need to run 2 simultaneously. But for optimal performance, try to keep it to 1 app running at a time. Okay, we're just going to quit Firefox from here. Sometimes you'll also find that there are applications that are slowing down your computer because they're frozen or unresponsive. The way that we take care of those is by going into Launchpad. Okay, and then from Launchpad we have Activity Monitor. And that folder for the Activity Monitor is within the other folder next to all of your other apps. Okay, and then for instance, let's say we find something that is frozen and not responsive. In this case, I'm going to say, let's say that it's Safari that's not working the way it's supposed to. So we can click on it and hit the little X on the top left, and then force quit or quit depending on which one works. You can simply quit it, great. If not, then you have to use the more invasive method and actually force quit. Verifying your drive is another good thing to do, just to make sure that there are no file system issues in how the data is actually being stored on the drive, and that is done through disk utility. Also within Launchpad under the other folder. And depending on how long ago you've done this, that may take a few minutes, so just let it run. I'm going to choose the drive here on the left side. Mine is Macintosh SSD. Yours may say Macintosh HD, or if you renamed it to something else, it'll have that there. But in any case, you can click on that partition and click First Aid. Run. And then this will give you a warning saying, hey, that it's going to lock the boot volume. You can agree and hit continue, and just be patient while it completes. Try not to work in any other apps while it's working. Alrighty, and once the disk utility first aid verify is complete, you can click done. On the subject of your disk or your drive, the best way to kind of maintain a good hard drive is to have a decent amount of available space. You usually want to have at least 10, 15, maybe even 20% of your hard drive space available. And the best way to get rid of data and of items that you don't need is to, of course, empty your trash. Okay, and I'll do that with you now. You'll be surprised at how much your trash gets built up, and you don't even realize how much is in there. So you can go ahead and empty your trash. Okay, the next place that I like to look for in deleting items to free up space is my downloads folder. Downloads folder, why? Because if you download it off the internet, you can most likely download it again. So why don't we do that now? I just hit Command A to select all. We're going to drag all these items into the trash. And I am once again going to empty the trash. I actually needed to do that, so I'm glad that I'm doing this with you guys now. Sometimes things aren't as simple as just deleting stuff in your downloads folder or deleting stuff from your trash can to free up space. Other times you may have files on your hard drive that you're not sure where they are. So the best solution that I found, that I personally like using, is OmniGroup's Disk Sweeper. And I'll actually go there with you guys now to show you how that application works. You can open up any web browser. I prefer google.com, and we can type in OmniGroup Disk Sweeper. There we go, and it's going to be the first link that shows up under More Software, the OmniGroup. Download. It's a very small file. I know it's kind of counterintuitive where we're downloading something to free up space, but just bear with me, guys. It's a relatively small file that can be run directly from the image. You don't even have to take it out of the image. You can just double click on it. It'll say, hey, this has been downloaded from the internet. Are you sure? Yes, we are sure. We know this is trusted software. This here is a little snitch software which monitors my network for me. You won't see this pop up unless you also have it installed. We're going to allow it. Okay, and then so once OmniGroup Disk Sweeper shows up, you'll have a list of all your drives. So right now I know that I need to size my Macintosh SSD because somehow there's so much stuff on it, I have no idea where it's all hiding. So what we'll do is click on that, hit Sweep Macintosh SSD. Okay, and then this program runs in an interesting way where you don't really see much happening. The best way to know that the app is currently still gathering all the data of where your files are, you'll see that it says sizing on the top kind of middle here. And then you'll see that number kind of going up. So you just want to sit patiently, wait, let it finish. Once it finishes, we'll go over where you can go to free up some space. Now that the sizing has completed, you'll know that the sizing is completed because there is the text that used to say sizing here is gone, and obviously the number is no longer going up. You can start navigating your file system here and seeing, hey, what is taking up all my space. Usually all the data that's taken up majority of space will be in your users folder and in your applications folder. And another quick note and disclaimer about using Omni Group Disk Sweeper is that it is relentless. If you delete an item, it will delete it. It won't ask twice if you want to delete this. It's going to wipe it. So be very careful of what you're deleting. Make sure that you don't need the file that you're clicking this delete button on. But let's go into the users folder and just navigate it to see what we've got going on. Alright, and it looks like the Skynet folder here has the most data, and what do you know? It's movies. Movies has 289 gigs, and that is in my Final Cut folder. There you go. So I've been working on some Final Cut videos. Now I know this is what's taking up all my space. I have the option of deleting this. I wouldn't delete it if the project isn't complete, but since I know that the project is complete, I can go ahead and hit delete. It's going to say, are you sure you want to do this? This is going to destroy everything in that folder. And I know that I have exported all these files already and I have backed them up, so I have nothing to worry about. Alrighty. So that looks like a good chunk of data that was freed up. Pictures, Google Drive, some other folders taking up some space. Currently, I'm not going to touch those because I haven't backed them up, and I know that, those are files that I need. So we can quit out of Omni Group Disk Sweeper from here. And you can eject the drive. Excellent. Keeping your Mac updated, sounds pretty simple and straightforward, but I have seen so many computers with issues, mainly because software updates have not been installed. Sometimes you can feel like installing an update, oh, I'm not sure, it might slow down my computer or make it worse. Trust me, install your updates. Apple is releasing these updates because there are problems that they're correcting. They're not just, releasing an update for the sake of the update. There are reasons behind it. Bugs, patches, security updates, most of all, most important, obviously. So whenever you do see an update pop up on your App Store, do make sure to go into the App Store, updates, and install it. I have currently run updates, so I have none available. And let's quit out of the App Store. The next thing that you'd want to do is go onto the Go menu, and we'll go into Applications. Now there may be apps that you have downloaded 2-3 years back. You might not even aware that they're in there. It's a good idea to kind of go through your Applications folder and see, hey, when was the last time that I used, in my case, GIF Brewery? I don't think I've actually used GIF Brewery, so I think it's safe to delete it. The best way to delete an app is using a free app called App Cleaner, actually, and we'll just download it together. Open up any web browser. Oops, App Cleaner. Perfect. And it's free Macsoft. We'll go here, download it directly from their website. Alright, and we'll close Safari. And we'll place it into the Applications folder from the Downloads folder. And it says you already have a version in there. I do, but this is a newer one, so I'm going to hit Replace. Okay, and the way that App Cleaner works, App Cleaner, and I just did that. The way I navigated to it is by typing appc and if you type it swiftly enough, it'll bring up the app that's closest to what you typed. You can double click the app cleaner, open, allow it. You can say check for updates automatically. Disregard this notification here. I'm getting this because of my network monitor. Okay, and then the way that it works, I will go to icon view for this, but the way that App Cleaner works, you kind of want to have it side by side with your applications window, and begin scrolling and picking on who's going out. Alright, so for instance, Gift Brewery. I'm just going to take Gift Brewery, drag it into here. And then what App Cleaner does is it also finds plist and preference files associated with Gift Brewery and deletes those for you as well, instead of you having to hunt those files down. I'm just going to hit remove, type in our password, boom, delete it just like that. Alright, we're going to quit out of that using Command Q and then remove this window from the Finder. Now, depending on what operating system you're running and how long you've had your Mac, you still may have the dashboard enabled. So the dashboard is a 4-finger swipe in towards the right, and it'll bring up this dashboard here. This is stored in memory, and it has everything from a calculator to a calendar to a clock. Yes, all these items and features are great, although they are resource hogs. So what we're going to do now is just disabled Notification Center. Believe it or not, in Mac OS El Capitan and Mac OS Sierra, dashboard is disabled by default. Apple is slowly phasing it away, seeing that it is not utilized as much as they would have hoped for, and it's kind of a piece of a feature that really hasn't lived up to its potential, so it's going to be pushed out. Maybe it'll be replaced by something else, but in the meantime, not really doing much. So we'll go into Mission Control, and then we have Dashboard off. That'll be it. That'll be an instant kind of correction. Boom. You're all set on that front. Now, with all of this that we've done, you should see a decent improvement in performance. If all else fails and all of these steps that you've taken still have not given you the performance boost that you want, the next best thing to do is purchase a solid state hard drive if you already don't have one, and additional memory. Now that may seem like a advanced task. It's really not. Believe it or not, Macs from around 2006 to around 2012 were all user upgradable, especially for the memory and for the hard drives. So those things are actually in the user guide. Apple allowed you to replace the hard drive and the memory as a user, and you wouldn't be avoiding any warranty or any kind of coverage by Apple by doing so. Now the battery is another story. Do not touch the battery. That is in no way covered or intended to be replaced by a user. And then to kind of figure out what battery and I keep saying battery. In order to figure out what hard drive and what memory you need, my favorite site to go to is Crucial.com. It's a Micron company. Okay, and then on Crucial.com, it actually has a tool that helps you pick out what you need. So you would go in here and let's say MacBook. First we have to choose Apple, excuse me. So we'll choose Apple, product line. Let's say we have a MacBook Pro, and what model we have, let's say a mid 2010. You can have a mid 2012 or whatever you like, and we'll hit find upgrade. And in case you were wondering how do you find what kind of model or what your computer is, if you go up to the Apple logo, hit about this Mac. Okay, and then from the About This Mac window, you'll see you have a MacBook Pro, what year, processor, memory, and so forth. But this is the important part. Mid 2010, mid 2012, depends on what you have. And so let's, if you scroll down here, they have a memory upgrade. I would jump for the 8 GB option if you have 4. And then the next option I would go for is a solid state drive. Now here they throw the really large options at you, like, what is this? A 2 TB solid state drive? No thank you. We don't need that much space. You can scroll down a little lower and you can find a 270 gig drive. And even these are pretty large. So you can go to other websites, for instance, newegg.com, amazon.com, and you can just search for a 2.5 inch SSD, and then you can buy it on there. And let's say you want a 250 gig drive, you can probably pick one up for around 40, maybe $50. So you want to upgrade the computer just so that it gives you a little bit more life. You don't really want to throw an arm and leg at it. So anywhere between $100 to $120 to upgrade your computer and give you another year or two of performance, I think that's well worth it. All right, let's quit out of Safari. And that pretty much sums it up. If you guys have any questions or any suggestions or ideas for future videos, please let us know. Thanks for watching.